first pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select
Trophy Chase, Arizona.
with the second pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select
Cody Smith, Houston, Texas. The fantasy draft room is now on the clock.
Welcome to the Fantasy Draft Room. I am Chase. You can find me on Twitter at Trophy Chase, TFDR. And as always, my man Cody, where can they find you at?
As always, y'all can find me on Twitter at Cody Smith TFDR. It is hard to break the repetition of giving these intros, but we're happy to be back here, man. Watched some film on Zach Charbonnet tonight. Watched him last night as well. I had to get my second dose in because I love myself some Zach Charbonnet after watching him the first time this year. Pumped for the rookie season, and we got some big news from Sleeper platform that we play on mostly. We got the rookies added in, so we can start to do our mock drafts on Sleeper with the rookies. And what better way to kick it off, man, than doing a 2023 rookie mock?
2023 rookie mock. We have been deep diving into the running back room lately, so I know both of us have been kind of watching, giving our own unprofessional eye grades, but making sure that we kind of have an idea of where these guys are going to rank for us at this point in the process. So we are excited to get into this 2023 rookie mock. We do have our picks to get into to make sure we can you can finish me off as this season goes, as you have so eloquently beat me up so far in making these picks against the spread. But we do have some playoff drama that I wanted to bring up first and foremost, because one guy you're very, very invested in is Trey Lance, and the other guy is Brock Purdy, who happens to be running this 49ers offense at a very efficient clip. Are you worried about Brock Purdy?
Worried about Brock Purdy in what sense, man? Because I've also been buying up Brock Purdy shares left and right, man. I like the kid. I like the kid a lot. But I was heavily invested in Trey Lance at the beginning of the season. And for those shares, I am definitely starting to get scared, man. If this kid, I'm talking with 49ers fans. I got one at my work who's just like, yeah, if we even make it to the NFC Championship game, as long as he doesn't blow up the next game against Dallas, I want Trey Lance gone. Like, the 49er fans are already clamoring for it. Yeah. And it makes sense financially for the organization as well. If they are able to move off of Trey Lance for any significant draft capital, man, it is starting to get hot in the kitchen in the San Francisco 49ers organization. And if I do have some Trey Lance shares, I think I'm trying to pivot off. What about you?
Yeah, it feels like if the team keeps winning and keeps having an efficient offense, this isn't like Jimmy G. Jimmy G was, with the way he restructured his contract, he was unfranchise taggable. He was, a free agent, totally up to him what he wanted to do. And I know he did not want to come back to that situation with Trey Lance. Brock Purdy is under contract for the next 3 years. So 23, 24, 25, cheap contract. Yes, he is Mr. Irrelevant. We get it. But we've seen Tom Brady do it, and I'm not sitting here saying he's Tom Brady, but he's running this offense extremely well. If this gives the organization a reset on having a cheap quarterback for the next 3 years, and they can get any significant capital for a Trey Lance trade, they got to do it. As long as he's not the reason that they lose, right? Like, as long as he's not out here throwing 3 interceptions, I don't see how they can go back to Trey Lance. I feel like they've also been given an out here where it's like, hey, look, we may have struck gold. If we can make it to the NFC Championship, or crazy enough, if they make it to the Super Bowl, I feel like they have their opportunity to get out from underneath that Trey Lance trade, get out from under those 3 firsts that they traded up, and people will forget and just move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got to move on. And even if they don't, man, we're going to have a training camp battle between these two. No matter what happens from this point on, there is going to be a camp battle. And with what we're seeing, man, I don't see a reason why Brock Purdy wouldn't have the lead going into training camp. This offense has been running so well with him. This is what I fully believe Shanahan wanted for this offense in the beginning. I'm fully on the train that when they made that move to go up to the 103 in the draft, that was for Mac Jones. Mac Jones, Shanahan and his dad made that move because they wanted Mac Jones to be their system quarterback. And then the public pressure set in and everybody was like, oh, no, you can't put that much capital into him. the GM comes in and he pivots to Trey Lance. And now we're here, and now we have Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, a guy who kind of looks a little bit similar in his game to Mac Jones, and he is running this offense so damn well. I know the draft capital was a lot to be invested in, but we're already 2 years past that, man. 2 years of it's already dead. And so at this point, why not just roll into the season? Yeah, hell, if you roll into the season with both of them, your dead cap at quarterback is still only $21 million. Like, you're doing better than probably 2/3 of the freaking league. And you have what happens if Brock Purdy goes down? I mean, this offense just seems to have people go down left and right. Then you can roll in Trey Lance and see what you've got. It's kind of like a Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers situation that we've got going on here. So I don't see any reason that if they don't get significant draft capital, you can still be perfectly fine just rolling out Purdy. So in that sense, I think we're pivoting off of a little bit of our Trey Lance shares because he's still going up at like that QB 13 on Keep Trade Cut. And if you can find some people in your league to buy him, I think you need to do that. Are you also, though, picking up the Brock Purdy shares?
Yes, if I can go trade for Brock Purdy in almost any league for a singular second, I'm doing it. We've seen some deals where that's happened. It seems like a lot of Purdy owners are on to what is happening, right? Like they're very aware that Brock Purdy is tearing it up for the San Francisco 49ers. But I think that, some people are going to be unreasonable wanting first round picks right now. And I feel like right now that is unreasonable while there is so much uncertainty. But if you can go give a second and a third or a second and a washed up quarterback, like, yeah, man, like let me get out from underneath of a washed up quarterback and take that gamble on Brock Purdy. Because I do feel like, you talk about injuries happening. Trey Lance is a guy that seems like he's going to get hammered a lot. Like, and not drunk. Like, he's not going to get shit faced. He's going to get hammered by fucking defensive linemen and linebackers because he's just so big. And yes, he's mobile, but I just feel like he's going to take a physical pounding, and we're going to see Brock Purdy again at some point next year, even if there is a battle or if Trey Lance does end up the starter for whatever reason.
Yeah, so let's get into a little bit of the trade situation that we were talking about this a lot today in the Discord. Yeah. So we had one of our trades involving our guy Ray G. He was trying to acquire a Brock Purdy share for a second and Zach Wilson. I don't know if we were both on at the same time. I know I was at work, not really able to talk through it, but where were you on the second and Zach Wilson for Brock Purdy trade?
I am not a Zach Wilson fan.
You're not.
I never believed in him from the start. Will he start again? Yes. Zach Wilson will be a starting quarterback in the NFL again. Yeah. But I was fine with it. I feel like it's the safe gamble on what is Brock Purdy, and it feels like all the momentum, everything is going in his direction. He's very efficient. His QBR, I believe, or his QB rating is 119, which is up there with Patrick Mahomes down the final 6 games of the season. Like, statistically, he's playing very, very well. And yes, it's within a system. I understand that, but he's not going anywhere. He's going to stay in that system. So yeah, like I would take that gamble on Brock Purdy on the opportunity that his value does increase and that he's going to be worth more than, I mean, Zach Wilson's what, a second? So 2 seconds?
2 seconds.
Are you doing that?
Man, it's rough right now because I think if you would have asked me, I don't know when you would have asked me because I was pushing us to get Purdy in the draft that we're in right now. And so we did get him. I was maybe thankfully like a week ahead of this maybe, but even 2 seconds, man, like it feels like the right process play, but with what you're watching on the field, I mean, he's thrown 2 or more touchdowns in every single game he started, I believe, so far for the 49ers. Like he's running this offense, like you said, at just such a high efficiency clip that I can't deny what I'm seeing on the field. So unless you're putting me up there at like 201 and 205, and then we're looking at Zach Wilson, he's a second. I don't know if he's even going to be the starter. There's already reports coming out saying that they're going to try like hell to get a top tier veteran quarterback. If that's like a Derek Carr or somebody else, it's being floated out there at least. So I don't mind either side of it, but right now, man, I'm kind of with you that I've seen enough of Zach Wilson. I think I'd still take Purdy.
Yep. I felt the same. I felt like it was a good process trade as well for the other side. It was a fair deal. This wasn't like oh my gosh, Purdy by a mile. It was a good process play. You basically, like, if you're the Purdy side, you traded away a quarterback with questions, like however you want to look at that, like with questions about his future and whether or not he's actually going to be the starter. for a quarterback who has questions about his future on whether he's going to be a starter, and you get a second round pick. So you get a depth piece. And I believe it was the 201 in 14 teams. So it's going to be the 15th overall pick, 204-ish, whatever, however you want to look at that. That's fine. I'm totally good with that. I feel like it was a good deal for both sides. Solid trade. And both managers are in different directions. So I felt like it was a perfect fit for both teams.
Yeah, I didn't have any problem with the trade. They, like you said, fit both sides, but just a really interesting dynamic compared to what we would have been saying. I mean, if you could have seen this one coming from the beginning of the year and just pick some Purdy off of waivers, even the first week, he was probably still on some waivers because, man, like we did not see this coming from the Mr. Irrelevant out of Iowa State that did not look anything like this. He had some flashes maybe that we saw, but nothing like what we're seeing in the Shanahan system. And I think that's where a lot of the credit has to go. You hear the argument from a lot of people of like, oh, it's just because of the system. Well, who the fuck cares if he's playing in that system for the next 3 years? Right. I don't give a crap, right?
He's locked up.
He's locked up, and every single weapon that they have is going to be under contract at least through 2023 as well. So, man, like, yeah, I'm definitely into buying some Brock Purdy right now.
Perfect. And then I want to flip it to real quick here to some Trey Lance here for the final couple minutes.
Yep.
What are you looking to get in a Trey Lance trade? Are you going to hold out hope that they trade him to another team where he gets the chance to start? Like, what are you thinking about when trading away Trey Lance?
So I think what I'm going to be doing, at least on the teams that I think I'm going to do on the teams that I have Trey Lance right now, is I'm first going to go out and I'm going to try to acquire Purdy for cheap. And if I can just throw a second out and hold both of them, that way I have whatever outcome happens. The worst case outcome is I have one good quarterback in a Shanahan offense. Like that's worst case scenario for paying probably like a second, maybe a second and a little bit more. Best case scenario, one of them gets traded somewhere else and is still a good quarterback and is still the top end producer, probably, especially like if Trey Lance goes and he's still a running quarterback, he can still be a top end producer at the quarterback position in whatever system he goes to. So that's how I'm trying to play that situation. There is also the fact of maybe I can't get a Purdy then. Okay, well then I don't really want to carry the risk that Trey Lance does have because he could just be straight the backup, right? And now I have no quarterbacks. And that's not the situation I want to be in, especially when I was taking Trey Lance probably at like the 201 in a lot of my startup drafts last year. So a lot of those teams are going to be looking scary coming in this year if I can't figure out that QB1 spot. So if I'm in that situation, there's a thought that I have. The first way I'm going is going up. I'm trying to package Trey Lance in a first, 24 first to try to get to Lamar, try to get to Trevor Lawrence, any of these guys. That's the first way you've got to go because getting up into that tier is vastly different from anything going down. The next thing I think I'd do is start looking at the rookies. And if I can trade out of my Trey Lance and pick up a 102, 103, I don't hate the move. It's not normally the move I like to make. I don't like to bet on rookie quarterbacks, but in this situation, man, with as scary as it is, if I can't upgrade my quarterback, I think that's probably the next move I'm making.
I would say in a way, like, as you say that, like Trey Lance is just a rookie, right? Like we've seen him play 3 games total in his career, I believe. And it's year 3, hasn't played meaningful football in 3 years. Even his senior year, he didn't play. So yeah, like I think that rolling the dice on a rookie into another rookie quarterback, an actual rookie like a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young or a Rich, whichever, Will Levis, any of these guys that end up, and we'll get into those here soon. Any of these guys that get draft capital, yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I do like the up tier first. I'm definitely going to try that. We saw in Heisman, Ty actually traded away Trey Lance, a second, and I think it was a 4th, and ended up getting Lamar. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that everywhere.
Bullshit.
But yeah, like fire those out. Like that's the thing is when you're trading this, like don't sit here and decline a trade for another owner. Try it. Send it out. See where you're at. See, maybe that owner really needs depth pieces and you're like, hey, here's a 24 first. See what you can do. Otherwise, yeah, look to go down. And I feel like, yeah, going young might be the smart play, is trying to go down into a younger guy who will have some long-term outlook, similar to a Trey Lance, that if you do miss and he does end up getting traded and thrives, at least you got an asset that still has a lot of value in a rookie 102, 103.
I got one last one for you before we move on to our rookie mock with Trey Lance. If you can't move up and you don't want to go to the rookies, I think there's one other option that I try to pursue. And I wasn't really thinking about this one until we started talking through it yesterday. Guy in the playoffs right now has had an immaculate season under a new head coach. Looks like he's going to revitalize his career, going to get a long-term contract, stay in New York. Would you trade your Trey Lance straight up for Daniel Jones?
Straight up?
Straight up.
Ugh. I mean, sure. Yeah. I here's the thing. Yes, I would, but I don't think you have to. I think you can get a plus. I think you can do Daniel Jones plus, right? And I feel like that would be the play, because you're right though. Like when Daniel Jones gets his contract and people think, oh, it's going to be a 2-year, 3-year deal. No, it's not. No, it's not. He's played well enough this year where he's going to get a 4, maybe a 5-year deal. And when that happens, unless he's taking a Kirk Cousins 3-year fully guaranteed type deal, I don't see that happening. He's going to be locked in, and he's shown enough this year that you want Daniel Jones. Like, he's definitely surpassed Kirk Cousins as that fringe QB2 back end QB1. Like, he's put himself in a really good spot. So yeah, I'd do that. I actually like that a lot. I'm going to go my last Trey Lance share. That's actually what I had thought about doing earlier today. Rebuilding team, still a young quarterback, Daniel Jones. And if I can get a plus on top of that, see ya.
Yep. May have to send those out before this one drops tomorrow. Hopefully they don't see that one and see it coming.
Yeah, I need to go do that now.
All right, man. Let's move on here. Let's get into our picks. We have gone through Super Wild Card Weekend. I had another good week putting two together back to back. Man, I haven't gone in the negative once, and you still had a good week too, man. Like, you had one
4-2 this week.
I did
math incorrectly.
I did math incorrectly, so I remathed, and unfortunately, there were 3, and so you are down by a total of 4 now. 31-22 for me on the year. 27-26 for you. You are still in the positive though. Probably not if you're actually just betting on the -110 money line, but hey, positive in the hearts. You still have a chance to come back though. 7 games left in the season. We can pick them. And let's get into our divisional card weekend for the NFL playoffs. Starting off with the Jacksonville Jaguars and Kansas City Chiefs. We got an 8.5 spread. This one seemed a little high to me whenever I first saw it. Chiefs are at home, though. Now, I am going to pick all of these first for you. So if you want to tail me, you can. But if you want to try to pick up some ground, I can do that too.
Before you go, I just want to make sure I do put this out there. Yeah, like I am trying to catch up ground at this point. So I might just be making opposite picks just for the sake of having that slim chance of catching on here. But we'll see what you do, and I'll make my decision accordingly.
All right. And this one, I'm going to start it off going with the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 8.5. I think that's too heavy of a line, even though the Chiefs are at home. I feel like this is might be like a touchdown game. 8.5 just feels like a weird number to me. I think Jacksonville could keep it closer than that. If they do get down, maybe put up a score at the end of the game. I do think the Chiefs win this one. I think they might have control, but I think Jacksonville can keep it within 8.5 points. Jacksonville plus 8.5 for me.
When I first looked at this matchup, that is exactly what I wanted. I figured Jags are going to keep this close. Trevor Lawrence isn't going to throw 4 interceptions. This Kansas City Chiefs secondary is not that good, where I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a very good game. This should be a very close game. But for sake of being different, I am going to take the Chiefs at home. Come on, 9 points. Come on, baby.
If anybody can do it, it's the Chiefs.
Oh, for sure. So let me take that one. I feel comfortable. I'll take it. It's the Chiefs giving up 8.5.
All right.
Bad process.
You got the next game. Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants, battle of the NFC East teams. We got 3 of them still in the playoffs, man. This is unlike the NFC East. Got a 7.5 point line on the guy that we were just talking about, Danny Dimes, leading his New York Giants with no wide receivers against the Philadelphia Eagles with one of the best quarterbacks and 2 fantastic wide receivers. 7.5, right on the edge of that touchdown line. This is right where I put this line too. I like the Eagles, man. I know this Giants defense looked good last week against Minnesota. I think they're playing well, but I just don't think this offense is going to keep it together against a good Philadelphia Eagles team. I'm actually going to take the Philadelphia Eagles minus 7.5 here.
So happy you did, because this is another one where I wanted the dog, and I feel like you did too, but
it's close.
It really is. Like, this is going to be, I think it might be a 7-point game, like, in the end. So
Right.
I'm going to take the New York Football Giants. I do feel like that their defense has been playing very well. A division rival. You've played each other twice already, right? So this is going to be something where you're familiar with your opponent. There's not many tricks you can pull out of your sleeve that's going to really throw either team off. It's just going to come down to some true NFC East football. I think it's going to be like 20-16 type of game. Give me the Football Giants to cover that spread. And man, I'd love to see an upset there, but I think they'll cover the spread here. 7.5. Give me them Giants, baby.
Got the Giants there. Moving into our Sunday games. No more Monday games for the rest of the year. No more Monday football until we get back to, I guess that's the first Monday night game of the year, man. It's unfortunate. I like my Monday night football.
Love me some Peyton and Eli.
Oh, we gotta love that show, man. They're good. Anyway, we got the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills -5.5 in Buffalo. Repeat of the unfortunate game that we had earlier this season that got suspended in Buffalo again. Ooh, man, I think this is a closer game than 5.5. I know they're probably catching a couple because they're at home, but I think this is going to be a run and gun shootout, come down to probably the final couple plays, at least the final drive of the game. I'm going to hope that it's a field goal game. Give me Cincy plus the 5.5.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, this is a underdog week, and Cincinnati plus 5.5 on the road. It feels like the right play. There was a stat: the Buffalo Bills are the only team to make it with like I believe that they have an even turnover ratio. So they have 27 turnovers this year, the highest in the playoffs. And Josh Allen turned the ball over a couple times last week. Yeah, it's true. I mean, he can keep him in it, bring him back from whatever mistakes there are made, gunslinger effect. I mean, I really, really, really like Cincinnati here, but let me get the Buffalo Bills at home. Damar Hamlin, we're gonna feel the energy in that stadium. A rematch of everything that happened, a lot of emotion. Yep, throw up the threes. You know, I truly believe that Buffalo can win this thing by 7+. But man, I would not be shocked at all if Cincinnati actually comes out. Like this should be a lot closer spread than 5.5. It feels so. I'll give up 5.5. Sake of being different. This week may wipe me out, but man, I don't feel bad either way.
As you're talking about it, I just remembered Damar Hamlin has been in the facility almost every day this week, meaning he's probably going to be in the stadium for the first time in Buffalo for the Buffalo Bills game. Oh man, that feels bad. I want to switch back, but I won't for you. I won't. I'll keep it on Cincy plus 5.5. But man, gotta love a Damar Hamlin comeback game like that. That's gonna be a wild atmosphere there in Buffalo. So happy for all of the situation that unfolded there. Seems like everything's getting back to good, and 100%. We will move into our last game of the divisional weekend games: Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, where we are going to see Brock Purdy try to take down Dak Prescott and see if he can hold on to the starting job through 2023. San Francisco -3.5 point favorite. Dallas Cowboys plus 3.5. Would have been about an even game if the San Francisco 49ers weren't at home. And I think that's a little bit disrespectful. Give me the 49ers -3.5. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to Dallas themselves out of this game, and they're going to lose big time.
Yeah, Dan Quinn, man. He has an incredible defense, rookie quarterback, enough film on the rookie. Like this is going to be a true test of Brock Purdy, right?
Well,
like this is going to be a true test of I mean, it isn't just Purdy, but it's going to be that Shanahan offense, what they can cook up, because they're going to have to keep Micah Parsons off of Purdy this entire game, and that is going to be tough. But you know what? Nick Bosa is also going to be on the other side of that ball. The San Francisco 49ers defense is incredible. I don't think the Cowboys are going to have such an easy time as they have all playoffs. And I would say down the stretch this season, they've had a really effective and efficient offense. I think I'm going to take 49ers at home here as well. I'm going to stick with you on this one. Giving up 3.5, I just feel like that 49ers run game is going to wear down the Dallas defense. They're going to do enough to put up, I'd say, 27 points. Probably, I mean, this might actually be a more of a blowout, so to speak, like 27-17 type of game where the 49ers just kind of take control and kind of really put Dallas in their place. I think Dallas is a good football team. I just don't think that they're ready for Brock Purdy.
Oh, you can't mess with the Brock. But man, Dak Prescott looked really good against that Tampa Bay
He
defense
has.
last week. So if he can keep that one going, I think this will actually be closer to this 3.5 line than what we're probably thinking. Man, this 49ers offense is just so good, man. We'll see if Micah Parsons can disrupt the rookie. I think that's going to be the true matchup of this game. If that defensive front of Dallas can get to Brock Purdy, rattle the rookie, and make this a tough sweat him out game where he's under pressure the entire night, I think that's the way Dallas can keep this one within 3 and possibly pull out a win.
Love it. Love it. It'll be some fun games this weekend for sure.
Hell yeah, as always.
Let's
it is time. Sleeper. They put in our rookies. I feel like we haven't ever gotten our rookies this early, man. This is right. This is right after rookies declared. I think they were rolling them out throughout the day too. We were going through and seeing people that weren't in, and then 2 rounds later they're actually in the sleeper system. And like Cedric Tillman isn't even in for some reason. I've seen some people complain about it. I was just happy to have these rookies that I can actually put up and draft with. Man, like if you want to roll them out throughout the day, go ahead. At least I can actually click on Bijan Robinson on Sleeper for the first time ever. It feels damn good.
I feel like last year it took until like March. Yeah. Even I think it was like mid or late March. It was after the combine, and I'm just like, why don't you guys have these guys in the system yet? This isn't that hard. So, yep, keep them rolling out. They'll get things updated. Super pumped to do this on Sleeper. So we will be holding a ton of these as well. But yeah, 4-round 2023 rookie mock with the Heisman tier of Destination Devy. Again, patreon.com/all gas. And join that Heisman tier. You can draft with us, with Ray, with Scott, all of the Destination Devy content creators over there. Great group to be a part of, and second to none in this business.
Absolutely not. It's a fantastic community over there, filled with a bunch of sharp minds. Some of these picks, some of these picks were early in the process. Some of these are going to be a little bit questionable to us, and some of them are going to be questionable that we agree with compared to the rest of the community, because these mocks vary wildly from community to community right now. Like if you were tapped into, I don't even know what are some of these other ones. I've been too tapped into DD lately, man. I don't even watch some of these. It's been hard to even get outside of our content because there's so much of it. But after this, let's get into our first round of the 2023 first rookie draft on Sleeper. And man, there's no other way to start it, is there? Like it's got to be Bijan Robinson.
100%. I don't think it's any question. Bijan Robinson all the way. We've watched some film on him. I mean, I stopped after a couple games. Like it's a waste of time. He is the 101. You might be able to make some arguments down the stretch here. We'll see as draft capital rolls in. But right now, today, there is zero reason to put anybody ahead of Bijan Robinson, in my opinion.
No, there's no reason to watch Bijan Robinson film. The only reason that you actually do watch Bijan Robinson is if your girlfriend's talking to you and she's like, hey, do you want to go out? Do you want to go to like the museum and go see some local art or something? You just say, no, baby, we're just going to sit home and watch some art today. Put on Bijan Robinson film, because that shit right there is fucking art. Watching Bijan run through holes, like I will always say, he looks like he is running down a ski slope whenever he runs through the line. He just has such a quick plant foot, burst to acceleration. Man is unbelievable. He's great out of the backfield as well. Unfortunately, he's at Texas because of that thing right back there, and I have to hate him a little bit for it, but I can't even hate him enough to get him outside of the 101. It's just not doable, man. The guy is fantastic.
Yeah, he really is. So we'll just kind of brush past him for right now. We'll, as draft capital and things like that come into play, we'll start reassessing. But right now, there is absolutely no reason to take anybody above Bijan. So the 102, we have our first quarterback. We have CJ Stroud, who came off the board, a quarterback from Ohio State. I don't have any issue with it. He looked insanely good against Georgia. I know people are going to bring up the Ohio State quarterback issues of, is he a system guy? Will he actually be able to replicate this at the next level? I don't really have many questions about him. We saw mobility out of him. It's not like he's an immobile quarterback. He's not necessarily someone that's going to be a plus on the ground. Like he's not a Josh Allen. He's not a Daniel Jones. He's not going to be running for 900 yards, right? So I'm good with it. I think it's going to be, again, when it comes down to the quarterbacks for me, and I'll say it 18 million times between now and the actual draft season when we start drafting, it's going to come down to draft capital. It's going to come down to draft capital for me when it comes to these quarterbacks.
It is draft capital, man, and basically for that reason, I still have Bryce Young at my 101, 102 in our rookie mocks, 101 in NFL mocks, because that's what I see most of the time. I know we're not fully going off of that. I think Bryce Young can make some better throws. Obviously, the science concerns are the only thing that I think could push up CJ Stroud above Bryce Young at the end of the day. We'll see what he tests at and everything like that, but still don't have any problem with CJ Stroud here at the 102.
Love it. Now we do have our first, I don't want to say question mark, but a little bit of a surprise for a lot of the drafts we've done. This feels a little early, but we have Jahmyr Gibbs at the 103. Super talented running back. I don't think there's any, I was about to say there's no question that he's the running back 2 in the class, but
save that one for later.
Cody has recently had watched some film and has fallen in love with someone. So we'll dive into that in a little bit here. But for me, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the unquestioned 102. His receiving prowess is unquestioned. He's an insanely good runner. I do want to find out what he weighs in at, but he seems like he's going to be right around that 200 pounds mark. What do you think about Jahmyr Gibbs this early, and what do you think about Jahmyr Gibbs in general?
This early, man, I am on the mindset that whatever quarterback gets taken probably within the top 15 picks, and from what it's sounding like right now and a lot of the mocks we're seeing, it seems like all of them could be top 15 picks. I can't have anybody above the quarterbacks besides Bijan. If they are top half first round picks at the quarterback position, the scarcity of the position is going to drive these quarterbacks up for me to where I can't take any positional player over them. So while I do think Jahmyr Gibbs is a fantastic player, obviously I've had some questions come into whether he belongs that 2 spot, which is probably a little bit of an overreaction to me watching some film, but he is by far the best receiving running back in the class. There is no question about that. He could legitimately be like a true slot receiver probably if he wanted to, and he can run between the tackles fairly efficiently. I don't want to call him an elite runner in between the tackles. I think he still has some work to do there, but by far, hands down, the best receiving back that we see in this class, but still a little bit too early here at the 103 for me.
Yeah, too early at the 103. I'm with you. Same thing. I want to see the draft capital of these quarterbacks, and right now it's too much for me to take Gibbs this early. But yeah, I mean, he is going to be an incredible pass catcher at the next level if used correctly. He's awesome in open space if they're able to get the ball in his hands out there. Yeah, he's going to be used as a pass catching weapon, as Ray likes to say. So, love the player. I do think that he would go immediately after the quarterbacks. In this case, we have him a little bit early. I did reach out to Dynasty Logic just to kind of say, hey, just curious what your thought process is. Maybe he's down on the quarterbacks. Didn't hear back, but would love to pick his brain just to kind of see maybe he's seen something on these quarterbacks that we haven't. But yeah, so to kind of get things into the 4th pick here, we have Bryce Young. You mentioned him earlier being up there kind of neck and neck with CJ Stroud. I think I'm just going to go the next 3 picks. We have Bryce Young, back to back. Anthony Richardson, and Will Levis. You took Will Levis at the 106 since he fell to you. I mean, it feels pretty standard to me at this point.
You say it feels standard, but man, if you look around at some other mock drafts, it ain't standard.
Right.
I would like to point out, this is a super flex mock. Obviously, we're not taking these guys up here at 1 quarterback. I think all of the content on this channel will probably be super flex. Maybe we throw in 1 quarterback. I don't know. One time we might do it just for
remove the quarterbacks. How's that sound?
You just shift them backwards though. If you're in 1 quarterback, you just shift them backwards to whatever point you don't feel really comfortable about the position player. But yeah, it's like I said earlier, with Superflex and the scarcity of the position, I don't truly like Will Levis as a true NFL prospect. However, from what I've seen in the rookie mocks that we are seeing come out from all of these guys at like TDN and CBS and NBC, like all of these guys are putting Will Levis. I mean, there's some people that are putting Will Levis up at the 101 in some mocks. So to discount him just because of what I've personally seen on the field, I'm not going to call myself a QB talent evaluator. And even if I was, I can't deny that draft capital. So I'm perfectly fine throwing all of these 4 quarterbacks up into this range. I think they should go as we currently stand 102 through 105. And then if you want to put Jahmyr Gibbs there at the 106, I think that is the way I'd play out all of these for the first 6 picks.
I will say one thing. We've always talked about CJ Stroud and Bryce Young kind of separating themselves from A-Rich and Will Levis. Will Levis had turf toe or a broken toe throughout the entire season. His mobility was limited. His weapons were limited. He had one of the worst offensive lines in football. Anthony Richardson, is one of the most prolific runners of the football that we have seen in college ever. He doesn't run like Cam Newton. It's like he runs like Lamar, but he's the size of Cam Newton. It's just freakish. And I know people are going to say, oh, he can't, 46% completion percentage, and Will Levis looked terrible his senior year. Like, I can't believe you guys would have him this high. If these guys get draft capital and NFL teams put them on the field, because if they get drafted in the top 15, they will be on the football field. They will get their opportunity. They will be worth more than one first. They will be worth multiple firsts. And if they can end up being a Josh Allen, a Jalen Hurts, like all guys that we have shit on in the past, Daniel Jones, like it takes time to develop, right? But they have the tools and traits to become something special, unlike a lot of pocket passers. So I will say it is an upside play with those guys and the opportunity that they develop if they get draft capital.
Yeah, gotta have it. But it's from the mocks that we've seen right now.
Yeah.
All of the mocks that I've seen have had these guys in the first round. Now, if that changes, we adapt, we stay liquid, we move on and stay liquid with it. No, but we move them back. They can drop behind maybe some of these wide receivers, behind Gibbs. I could definitely be okay with that from community consensus. But right now, just can't do it with the scarcity of the position of the upside these guys do hold.
Love it. So let's jump into the next 3 picks here, since we had a run on wide receivers. At this point here, we've got the first 2 running backs off the board, the core quarterbacks off the board. We do have JSN from Ohio State. Then we have ourselves some Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnston from TCU. 3 very good players, 3 very different players. I feel like this is about the right spot for these 3 guys. Do you have any issue with the order? Do you like QJ over others? How do you feel about this part?
QJ, I've never been in on, man. I know the size is there, but I've had issues with him and his disappearing acts all the way throughout this entire year whenever he did fully come onto the scene. Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jordan Addison, I'm going to have to go back. I haven't went back because I remember watching tape of Olave and Garrett Wilson at Ohio State, and just while I'm watching their game film, just being like, holy crap, JSN is so good. Like, while I'm trying to watch somebody else, and I can't even deny how good JSN was on the field at the time. And I was so hyped for him now, but we haven't seen him play this year. And because of it, he's dropped a little bit in some of these rankings, some of these mocks that we see around the industry. Jordan Addison, though, I mean, he's damn good as well. I don't have much of an issue. I still personally have Quentin Johnston behind, but JSN and Jordan Addison, I can go either way with those 2 at this moment, but I haven't gone back and watched that 2022 or 2021 JSN film. And I think when I do, I'm going to have it like you did here and pick JSN first.
Yeah, I did take the pick of JSN over the other wide receiver, so he was my choice there. 95 catches, 1,600 yards as a sophomore with Olave and Garrett Wilson on the field. And I know you can be like, oh, well, coverage was shaded. Was it? Like, we really need to look at that. We talked about the same type of scenario with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson at LSU. The dude can play. There's 0 doubts about that. Did take kind of a year off. Marvin Harrison broke out this year, so people forgot about JSN, and I feel like that's a bad move. And he's not going to be a burner. He's not going to be some 4-4 guy, but it will be interesting to see what he tests, if he tests. But I feel like he's done enough that NFL teams are still going to be super excited about him, taking him in the first round easily. And I feel like he's going to be able to do a lot of the things that he did at Ohio State at the next level. Jordan Addison's an easy number 2 for me as well. Obviously saw him win the Blitnikoff Award at Pitt, transferred to USC, looked really good at times. He did get banged up throughout the year. QJ just disappears, man. Like, there's games that he just puts up monster freaking numbers, has that size, that freak athletic ability that people are going to lose their mind over. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm out on him. The TCU bias rubs me a little bit wrong, but yeah, I feel like I'm perfectly fine with this order right here, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think this has been pretty standard from what we've seen, at least in our community, from the 101 to the 109, is quarterbacks 2 running backs and the 3 wide receivers being there. Had Butte in there before, he's had his question marks, then declared, then redeclared, and he's being outplayed by Malik Neighbors. There's mocks that we've seen where he's not even in like the top 3 rounds. It's not looking good for Kayshon Butte, but we'll see what the ending draft capital ends up being. But we do see him come off the board here pretty soon. To round out the first round, though, before we get into that one, we do have Devon Achane, Jalen Hyatt, and Zach Charbonnet. This is where I said it at the beginning. I was watching some Zach Charbonnet film. We just got out of watching it again. Man, do I love some Zach Charbonnet. I'm talking this while I have this right over my back. I should be screaming the high heavens of Devon Achane's elite speed, where he runs a 10.12 because he's a track athlete that's also an NFL caliber running back. I should be screaming that, and I can't even do it. I am disrespecting the ring on my hand and the school that I love, but I don't care because I will do that for Zach Charbonnet. That is how much I love his film right now. He runs like a bowling ball with agile feet. It's insane what that guy does. I love the way he runs, man.
Yeah, I figured you get excited. I mean, this whole back half of the draft here is all you. I mean, Devon Achane, obviously an absolute burner. I mean, I just wish he wasn't 180 pounds. Like, I want to see him weigh in, see what he actually comes in at. For me personally, Devon Achane is going to depend on a little bit of landing spot / draft capital. I feel like a team has to use him correctly. He can, and he's fully capable of being a very good runner between the tackles. However, because of his size, you don't want him doing that 10, 15, 20 times a game. Like, give me 10 rushes, give me that, Eckler treatment where he's getting 10 carries, maybe, and then a bunch of passing work. Just get him the ball in space, and let's just let Devon Achane do work. That's kind of what I want to see out of him. He played extremely well this year. I think he had over 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards this year on the ground, and he had 100 and let's see if I can find his receiving real quick. Yeah, his receiving yards, he had 200, so he had 36 catches for 200 yards. So he's absolutely a pass catcher.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing really what he weighs in at. But, man, even if he does gain 10, 15 pounds and he can come in at 195, if he loses a step, he's so fucking
worth it.
Fast. Yeah, so really excited to see what he can do. Another burner, Jalen Hyatt. Just want to touch briefly on him. He stepped up this year. Absolute burner. Him and Hendon Hooker had quite the connection. I know Cedric Tillman went down. So those two were a great 1-2 combo in Tennessee. And we'll see what Hyatt is, what his draft capital is. I don't know that I really want to take him this high. I like him. Don't love him.
I still have concerns with guys like him that I think they comp to be more just like vertical deep threats in the NFL. And it's just like, what is their usage if they can't figure out how to work underneath? But can't deny the fact that, I mean, his sophomore to senior year or sophomore to junior jump, 226 yards at a sophomore year compared to 1,267, over 1,000-yard jump getting into his junior year whenever Cedric Tillman did go down with the injury. I mean, he balled out. So we've seen him mocked in the first round, and the NFL loves speed, and that is Jalen Hyatt.
And then to your guy, Charbonnet, before we move to the second round here, obviously by PFF, he was top 5. He's the only running back that was top 5 in rushing grade and top 5 in receiving grade as a running back in this class. So that's important. That's huge. He has the ability. I think he had 37 catches this year, 195 rushing attempts for 1350 on the ground. Dude's good. Like, dude is very, very good. We'll see what capital he gets, where he ends up going with this. Ray talked about it tonight. Like, reminds him of a little bit of Damian Pierce, Javonte Williams-esque-ness to him. So yeah, that's exciting because we know what those two can do have done in the NFL. So
I've done enough gushing over Zach Charbonnet. I'm probably going to end up making like an hour-long video at some point about how much I love Zach Charbonnet. Just put together like a video reel of him just making people look silly and just lowering his shoulder and running over people. It's how I love to watch a running back operate. As much as I love Devon A-Chain, I love a guy that will just put his head down, put it into your sternum, and drive you forward for 5 yards in a cloud of dust. Like, I love that style. And he can move around a little bit more too, and he can receive. Enough about Zach Charbonnet. Let's get into our second round. This is where we see Kayshon Boutte slip a little bit in a lot of mocks that we've seen, going at the 2-1. Josh Downs, the next 2 wide receivers off the board. Anything stand out to you between these 2 guys?
I mean, Kayshon Boutte could be a lottery ticket, or he could be an absolute bust, and it's just lots of mystery around him. I feel like he's going to be a steal. I feel like if he ends up in a good situation, he can mentally get back into football, focus on the game, scratch all the off-field sex party stuff that's going on. It sounds like nothing inappropriate happened. He just went to a sex party is what it sounds like. That I'm going to leave that to everyone else to figure out. But yeah, I mean, he was wide receiver 1 in this class, and I know new coaching staff, new offensive system. He seemed very checked out throughout the year. I mean, there were times that he wasn't even looking for the ball coming his way, half-ass running his routes, very, 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 very questionable behavior on the field, which makes you wonder. But the talent is there, and he's going to test very, very well. And I think he had 48 catches. Yeah, 48 catches, 530 yards this year. Not super prolific numbers. And then in his 6 games, as in 2021, he had 38 catches, 509 yards, 9 touchdowns that year. I just don't know what to make of him. He had one game his sophomore year, where I believe he had, what was it, 200, 300 yards in one game, and you're just like, holy crap, like that's incredible. So again, consistency issues, I don't know. He's a big question mark for me, but a guy that in the second round that could have the upside as being potentially wide receiver 1 in the class, like, man, it's exciting. I think that's exciting. I feel like it's exciting. I feel like you're getting a steal.
You could, or you, like you said, you could be getting that, or you're getting a bust. Like, there's probably not going to be that much of a range of outcomes. Like, it's going to be one extreme or the other, I feel like, with Kayshon Boutte. And there's just other guys around here that I'd rather take. I'd rather take the running backs. I'd rather take, to be honest, I think I'd rather take Downs, guy out of UNC, combining with Drake May. He had some injury bugs throughout this year, but whenever he was on the field, he was Drake May's favorite guy, and they were putting up insane numbers together whenever they were on the field. So,
yep,
Josh
1,000
Downs
yards,
is a guy I really like.
1,000 yards back-to-back seasons, 94 catches this year, 100 catches last year. Like, you get that dude the ball. Like, he's going to be a target monster. So we'll see what he can be in the NFL, what kind of draft capital. I think I've seen late first, early second type stuff for Josh Downs. Seems like he's going to profile as a wide receiver 2 for me.
I think so.
Yeah, but a good player nonetheless, one that you want on your fantasy rosters. So
yep.
Let's dive into 2 other running backs here. Kendre Miller, who came on his senior year, or his junior year, I believe is what it was. And then Sean Tucker, a guy that I loved coming into the year. I was drooling over Sean Tucker. But let's dive into Kendre real quick here before I talk about Tucker. What do you like about Kendre?
Yeah, Tucker I haven't gotten to yet. He's probably the next one that I got to really deep dive into. I'll like watching 10 games of film for him. Kendre I have watched, though. Honestly, I watched Kendre and I watched Charbonnet back to back, and Kendre feels like Charbonnet light to me. He's like he's the smaller framed version of Charbonnet that can move a little bit quicker, but still runs with the same like hard headedness that I love. He has some damn good vision. He's able to make some insane cuts. He stays up. I know we were talking about it a little bit before. TCU's O-line just wrecked people through the Big 12. That's why they were able to win that one, get to the college championship, and then get wrecked by an actually good defensive line more than likely. And they didn't have Kendre Miller in that game. But I like Kendre Miller's game. He's a serviceable running back out of the backfield. And like I said, Zach Charbonnet light. I'm going to have him behind Charbonnet as for right now, but still really like the game of Kendre Miller.
Yeah, I feel like they're back-to-back for me. I think they're very, very similar in profile. Both very – he has incredibly good contact balance. You see it several times where he's just kind of just mauling through people, breaking through arm tackles. If you put an arm out, he's absolutely running through it. I don't know what his top-end speed is, but he has good burst. He finds a hole and goes. He has a nice one-cut ability, but – he gets north-south. Like, that's what he does. He was not going to be sideline to sideline trying to outflank the defense. Like, and that's what NFL teams are going to love. So I do think that he's going to be a very good NFL back. Sean Tucker, I loved coming into this season. And right now, to tell you how he feels to me, feels very Chuba Hubbard-ish, not only in how he plays, but in like, you know, his sophomore season or his redshirt freshman season, he had 1,500 yards, 1,496. And everyone had these high hopes for him coming back to the ACC, had just over 1,000 yards on 200 attempts, kind of took a step back. The Syracuse offensive line definitely caused some problems for him where he was getting hit in the backfield constantly. But he doesn't have a lot of wiggle to him, and very Chuba Hubbard-esque. Like, when he gets going, he can move, but you got to get him in space. I don't know like what he's going to be in the NFL. I'm going to let the NFL tell me by what his draft capital is, but people are concerned that he's going to be like a 3rd round, 4th round type running back. And unfortunately, for my love for Sean Tucker coming into the year, doesn't help out too much here. So.
Yep. You've also got the helmet scouting with him being out of Syracuse. Hasn't put a good running back into the NFL since Jim Brown. Yeah, so I'm excited to watch Tucker, see what I come away with, but I'm going to lean with you and what we've seen from the draft capital and mocks that we've seen. He's been falling. I know he was a Debbie Darling, so a lot of people are going to have him up in the 1st round, say, why do you have him down here? We're going with what we know and what we've seen on the field. So after that, we do have Rashee Rice, Michael Mayer, and Zay Flowers. Michael Mayer, man, you sniped me on this one. I even told you as soon as I looked at the board here, I was like, oh no, there's no way he's let Michael Mayer slip to me. And unfortunately,
yeah, Michael Mayer is absolutely tight end 1 in this class. Like, there's no reason.
There's no chance that anybody else does anything else. I mean, he was an absolute monster at Notre Dame. Led them in like every single receiving stat. He led Notre Dame. He was the entirety of Notre Dame's offense in the passing attack, and he's a good blocker. He has both. He will be a plug and play tight end in the NFL day 1. He's going to be a 1st round pick. He's probably going to be a top 20 pick in the NFL draft. Michael Mayer, he should have gone higher than this. We didn't have any specification as to whether this was a 1.5 tight end premium or anything like that, and he still should have been higher than this. I don't care if this is non-tight end premium. I'd probably have him closer to probably like right behind Kendre or right before Downs and Butte. But Michael Mayer is a fantastic tight end.
I feel like you could put him anywhere in that 201, anywhere in the early 2nd range. I mean, I feel like this would be the fall. If you can get him here at the 206, like you got to be pumped. Rashee Rice, big wide receiver out of SMU, 6'3". I mean, I think he had like 94 catches, 1,400 yards this year, 10 touchdowns, like just gaudy stats. Yes, it's SMU, but looks like he belongs in the NFL. So really excited to see what the NFL sees about him. Zay Flowers, a lot of people are excited. I like Zay Flowers. I want to watch more of him. These wide receivers we haven't dove too deep into yet, for the record. But Zay Flowers, there's just some, I don't know, there's like a burst, quick twitch about him that just seems like, even though he's a smaller wide receiver, will fit really well in the NFL. So we'll kind of see what Zay Flowers, ends up doing and what we think once we actually watch film on this wide receiver class. Anything you want to touch on? You want to kind of get into this running back run?
No, the only thing that I've kind of heard about Zay Flowers is he might comp a little bit more to like a Rondale Moore type, and that's not the type that I really like whenever I'm scouting wide receivers. He's coming in at 5'10", 177, at least on Sports Reference college football, but he did put up over 1,000 yards this season, 12 touchdowns. I mean, you can't deny the talent is out of Boston College, so like how much talent is he playing against? But we've seen him be mocked in probably 2nd round in most of the things I've seen, so you got to throw him up here at least, I think. And then after this one, do you have anything else on Zay Flowers?
I just want to say one thing on Zay Flowers, and this is something I've heard secondhand, and I see it a little bit once you hear it and you watch his film, that some people in the draft world say that Zay Flowers reminds them a little bit of Antonio Brown. I'm not going to sit here and say he's Antonio Brown, but I want to see it for myself. But that's kind of been some of the excitement, high-end comp of Zay Flowers, and if that's the case, whoo.
That's the case. Yeah, we'll see.
Not a head case, though.
Yeah, not that part of Antonio Brown. Anyway, let's get into this next little group of running backs that we see come off the board here. Tank Bigsby out of Auburn, Zach Evans out of Ole Miss, Israel Abanikanda out of Pitt, and Deuce Vaughn out of Kansas State. any of these guys stand out to you? I know what a lot of people will say as soon as they look at this is Zach Evans deserves to be in the first round. And I can tell you right now, he does not. He is bad. Like, he's legitimately bad.
He's a big running back. He just seems like he's going to be an NFL plotter, in my opinion. We'll see. I want to watch him back to back. Like, so I like to watch film of players and put them back to back with other players in that tier. And I want to watch him back to back with Abaconda, with Tank. And from what I've seen though, when I watch Zach Evans with Kendra, all the top tier guys, he's not even close.
Not even close. He has no wiggle to him, man. He can't break tackles. Like, the amount of just arm tackles. I was asking in our Discord what was his yards after contact last night, because after watching him, like, he never breaks a tackle. He has a lot. I will give him that he has a lot of 10+ yard rushes. I think he's in like the top 5.
Yep.
However, every one of those that I saw, at least from his 2022 season, is because he's not touched for the first 10 yards and he just runs for like 15. I don't think that's going to happen at the next level. We've also heard, I believe there's some like personality concerns with Zach Evans as well. There's some stuff that's been coming out. Why did he transfer from TCU? I believe it was to go to Ole Miss. And then even when he got to Ole Miss, I think there were some concerns. I'm not going to buy into that.
Yeah.
But I didn't like watching him as a runner, man. Tank Bigsby, I haven't gotten into yet. Israel Abanikanda, though, I think he's just going to be a grinder, man. Liked what the little bit I've seen out of Abanikanda. What do you got between the 3 guys? Because I think the last one here does stand out from the rest of the 3.
Yeah, like I feel like Tank Bigsby, like the fall from graces, he was up there, like with Bijan.
Yeah,
like he was up there with in the breaths of Bijan and Gibbs, and like people were taking Tank over him, and I think people had even said that they might take Tank over Bijan Robinson, and that is not the case anymore. I mean, he didn't have an awful season. I do want to watch Tank. I still have to watch Tank as well, but I mean, he had 180 attempts, 970 yards, averaging 5.5 or 5.4 a clip. He did have 30 receptions, so he is useful in the passing game. So I do want to see, statistically it sounds okay, but I want to see what is actually going on there. And then Deuce Vaughn, man, he's just little. I just wish he wasn't
the only thing, man. Like, that is the only thing. Like, if you have size concerns with Devon A-Chain, you can't even like compare that to the size concerns we have with Deuce Vaughn. I've watched a lot of K-State. It's actually where my sister goes, so watch a lot of K-State football. I love Deuce Vaughn is one of the best college running backs. Like, if you were actually to put these guys on a board and just grade them on how good they are in college, Deuce Vaughn would be number 2 for me. Like, he's better than Gibbs by far. He is right behind college running back. Just a college running back. He is better than Bijan Robinson. Yeah. The issue is we just have not seen this size translate to the NFL, and that is the only thing. I mean, my sister is small. I'm small. My sister is like 5'4". She has a picture standing next to Deuce Vaughn, and he looks marginally taller than her. Like, it's scary, man. Like, there are true legitimate size concerns with Deuce Vaughn, but he's so good. I hope that he can find a role in the NFL, but until we see landing spots, see how he might be used, I don't even know if I can take him in the second, man. It's just scary.
Yeah, we'll wrap this up here. I mean, I'm with you on that. I feel like back at the second with Deuce Vaughn, landing spot's gonna be big. But Raheem Jarrett, wide receiver out of Maryland. He was a 5-star prospect coming into Maryland. He did have some ups and downs. He's a freaking burner. And talking to Matt Bruning of C2C, said that he's probably going to be the fastest wide receiver in this class, which is saying something. Josh Downs is very fast. So definitely saying something. He hasn't had put together a full complete season. Like this year, he only had 40 catches, 470 yards, 62 and 890 or 820 last year. It's just very up and down feel to him. But hey, at the back of the second, if you're going to take if this is where you want to take your boom bust guy, like I don't want to take my shot at the end of the first round on Jalen Hyatt. Give me my shot on a boom bust prospect or player in Raheem Jarrett, where yeah, he might put up zeros some games, but in best ball, hey, every once in a while he's going to catch me 3 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown or 2. Like, give me that. Like, I'm perfectly fine with him at the end of the second here.
All right, yeah. Let's start running through this third round, fourth round. We did promise a 4-round mock. We did go through a full 4 rounds here, but we're already at the hour mark, man. We're diving into these players a little bit too much.
I'll
But
just pull it all up.
yeah, just pull it all. It's exciting, man. We're finally able to talk about these rookies.
Absolutely.
We got our first 4 rounds in the beginning of the third round. Roshan Johnson out of Texas, Brown, and then Spears and McBride. Anything stand out to you between those running backs?
Roshan Johnson, want to watch some film on him. A lot of people at that we hear things from Ray, obviously, so it's all secondhand. But he knows a lot of people that are very tapped in. That people in the NFL world are really excited about Roshan Johnson being potentially like a top 5 back in this class. So we'll see. Draft capital. I want to watch film myself, kind of see what I see. When it comes to him, Chase Brown seems like he's just give him the ball and he goes to work. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the big thing for me, the big takeaway, and I'll let you go here, but lots of depth, like quality players, not necessarily superstars, but quality players that you're going to be getting into the third round. Mix it up however you want. There's some good talent into the early third.
Yeah, I mean the running back depth here, man. We have four running backs in the first. We have 6 running backs in the second, and then we start off the third with 4 guys I'm perfectly fine with taking here. I think that's where my final cutoff is. It's probably like that Tajay Spears, Wayne McBride. That's probably where I'm ending being excited, a little bit of excitement about these running backs. But man, that is 4, 6, and 4. We've got 14 running backs that I'm perfectly fine with taking in this draft. That is insane running back depth that we're going to get from this class. The wide receiver depth is a little bit more shaky to me. We followed those 4 running backs up with Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma and then Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State. He was my guy that I took here in the third. I mean, you can't deny the numbers that he put up this year, 107 receptions for 1,100 yards. You don't hear over 100 receptions in college very much. And whenever you're playing in an Iowa State offense, you definitely don't hear it. So Xavier Hutchinson, I haven't dove into like game film or anything on him, but just from a true statistical standpoint, he stands out and stands off the paper for this offense. I'll let you take the second half of this round unless you got anything else to talk about with these guys.
No, but that's pretty much it. Xavier Hutchinson, great season, and with the quarterback play and just that team in general, incredible season. I took Kenny McIntosh here at the 307, and it was just purely because it was a pass catching running back. I was like, yeah, I haven't taken a running back at this point in the draft. Let me see if I can get a pass catcher, take a dart on a running back here. We have Reed, wide receiver out of Michigan State. Then we got ourselves Darnell Washington, another first-round NFL projected tight end. He's an incredibly good blocker. So we'll see what actually, where he goes. But hey, good tight end. Evan Hull, running back out of Northwestern. Solid guy. He's a guy. He's going to be a body in the NFL. PJ Washington, fall from grace is there. He was going in like the early second of a lot of these mocks. I think I've seen him in the late first at some point, but he got outshined by his teammate Tinsley throughout the year from what I watched, and wasn't overly impressed. But hey, he could end up being a steal. Mo Ibrahim, absolute monster. I think he tore his Achilles, came back.
Tore his Achilles and came back and performed. Man,
and performed
I love me some Mo Ibrahim. If I can pick up Mo Ibrahim in the fourth, that is always my pick. Outside of the guy that I picked, I still have Mo Ibrahim over him. But Mo Ibrahim in the fourth, I love some Mo Ibrahim.
Anyone you want to touch on here? I'll run through this first half of the fourth.
No, Parker Washington was the only one. I did actually like Parker Washington. I watched a little bit of him. Man, you just can't be outperformed like that in a Penn State offense by Tinsley. Unfortunate what's happened there. Maybe he turns it around in the NFL. Don't really think so. All these guys are just kind of darts at this point, man. Let's take it into the fourth.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker, your darling this year. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL. We'll see what he can do in the NFL, but sounds like he's having a fall from graces in the NFL world. Tucker Kraft, the tight end out of South Dakota State. Another South Dakota State guy. Sounds like he's a very prolific tight end. We'll get into tight ends later. Dalton Kincaid out of Utah, another solid tight end. Those are the 4 for me, is Mayer, Darnell Washington, Dalton Kincaid, and Tucker Kraft. Really like those guys as well. We have Chris Rodriguez, running back out of Kentucky. Cedric Tillman, he should not be in the 4th round. It was because he wasn't in the system. Yep. Yeah, I think he just slipped down the board. I think he will be in the system again for the next draft, but that is why he fell. And then I took my guy, my homer pick. I took Trey Palmer, wide receiver out of Nebraska, and he broke Nebraska receiving records. I think it was over 1,000 yards. Yeah, 1,028 yards. So he broke the Nebraska receiving record. He was at LSU, 5-star prospect or high 4-star prospect. So he was there, with Jamar, with Justin Jefferson, Terrace Marshall. So he was there with all of those guys. He had a very good, sophomore season when I think he had like 40 catches, 500 yards at LSU, third on the team, before he did transfer. And then he came to Nebraska and tore it up. I know people laugh at me, but man, I have a lot of belief in Trey Palmer. I've watched enough of his game to know that he's going to be a good NFL wide receiver. I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to be Justin Jefferson like I want to say, but he's going to be a very good NFL wide receiver.
All right, and I'll round us out with this one, starting at the 4-7 here, I guess. A.T. Perry also wasn't in the system. That makes my heart ache because A.T. Perry has been a little bit of my other. If Mo Ibrahim's gone, I take A.T. Perry in the 4th. Like, those are the only 2 players I basically take in the 4th round in our mocks that we've done throughout this season. A.T. Perry was a guy that I found him last year just because of his statistical standouts. He's a guy out of Wake Forest. He's 6'5", 210 as a wide receiver. I mean, just an athletic monster. And in his sophomore year, his redshirt sophomore year, he put up 71 catches for 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns. So an absolute dominant season. And then he follows it up, comes back for his senior year. I thought he was actually possibly going to declare last year, comes back for his senior year, puts up 81 catches for 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns. I don't know how he is. I've watched some games of him. Nothing actually stood out to me about A.T. Perry, but whenever a stats guy, looks at those numbers, I can't deny what I'm seeing on the field from this guy. The numbers that he's putting out. I'm going to love diving into a lot more tape on A.T. Perry. Unfortunately, I can't watch every single game on Saturdays during the year, but whenever we get to wide receivers, he will be one of my first ones that I put on because I've been an A.T. Perry darling just from a statistical standpoint for a long time.
Yes, you have.
Nothing else really to talk about there, though. I think the last one, we'll round out this one and come back to the interesting pick that I think that we can talk about here. We have Luke Musgrave, tight end out of, I even forget where we looked it
Oregon
up.
State.
Oregon State, there it is. He has like 10 catches. I don't know who he is, honestly, but we'll see if he comes up in the process and see if he tests well. People were saying that he could plug into a backup tight end 2 role in the NFL. We have Tyler Scott out of Cincinnati. Apparently, he's just a burner. Another name that just came up is it Nathan Dell? I believe it.
Yeah, Nate Dell or Nathaniel Dell.
Yeah.
Yep. I watched the bowl game that he was in, and I freaking forgot what it was, but he just looks a little undersized. I can't quite put my finger on what really was going on. It seems like he's solid. He's a Houston Cougars wide receiver, but I don't know. It was really tough. He had 109 catches this year, and I think like 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns, like really good stats. But yeah, he's 165 is what they say his weight is. 5'10", 165. He did look bigger than that, but still.
So
I guess, does BMI matter?
So he's going to be drafted in the 2nd round by the Rams, and he's Tutu Atwell. That's what I'm hearing.
Hey, I mean, you never know, but he put up some gaudy numbers, and I'd love to see what he can do at the NFL level. I think, well, obviously we will get to find that out. But hey, maybe his BMI is going to be more like, the Slim Reaper with Smitty than he is going to be Tutu Atwell. So we'll see.
We'll see. And the last pick that I did skip here from Sid the Kid, we're going to round out our first 4-round rookie mock draft of 2023. Stetson Bennett, the back-to-back champion, the hero of Athens, Georgia. What is he, 25, 26 coming into the NFL? I mean, he can eat free in Georgia for the rest of his life. Yes, but, man, he plays good, man. He throws the ball around. Nothing stands out athletically from him, though. But he's a good distributor of the football. Like, who he kind of reminds me of is a little bit of Brock Purdy.
Yep. I was just gonna say he's the Brock Purdy of college, right?
And if one of those guys like a Stetson Bennett gets into the right system, I don't think he ever comes in as a starter in the NFL anywhere. Probably comes in as like maybe a 4th, 5th round guy, in my opinion. Maybe he's, you know what though? If NFL scouts are taking Kellen Mond in the 3rd, why wouldn't you take Stetson Bennett in the 3rd as well? It's typically it's truly just a tools and traits thing, and that's what a lot of the NFL guys want. They want to develop their guy, but Stetson Bennett is a true just he's a man of the game of football, and I don't know what else to say about it. If he gets into the right role, gets into the right place, he could become something. But man, I don't know. I don't think I'm drafting a Stetson Bennett, but I do understand why you could draft him as a long throw dart here in the 4th round. But it feels I'm not going to try to comp him to Carson Strong. That's disrespectful to Stetson Bennett, but I feel like it's almost like picking a Carson Strong in the 4th.
You know, I feel like I have a little bit more belief in Stetson Bennett, and you know, he's a littler, shorter guy. I do think that he could be Brock Purdy-esque, where he does get drafted as a backup. That will be his intended role. But I do think he will step on a football field. He's a winner, right? Like he has fought. He's a hard worker. He was a walk-on, transferred to JUCO, transferred back to Georgia, won 2 national championships, was a Heisman contender. Like, the dude's story is unreal, and I feel like he's going to work at the next level. He's going to just work really freaking hard to get on the field. We'll see how far that takes him, and we'll see where he ends up. I think that's going to determine a lot for Stetson Bennett. But man, who knows?
He's good. He was good in college, though, man. You can't take that away from him. I mean,
yeah, he could be Taylor Heineke. He could end up being a Brock Purdy. He could end up being a backup quarterback on a team with an unstable quarterback position or an unstable quarterback position where he has the opportunity to get on at some point and maybe gets to start a year or two. So we'll see. We'll see. I think I just have hope for the kid, I guess the man. He's almost as old as I am. So
older than me,
yeah.
I think.
It might be. We need to check birthdays. But yeah, that kind of wraps this draft up. Any last things you want to touch on here?
No, man, just really excited to get back into the season. We're going to be grinding out mocks like this all the time. If you want to be in mocks like this with them, we're going to be trying to run them. So reach out to us, drop them in the comments. If you think anybody is absolutely absurd, if you're still a Zach Evans or a Sean Tucker believer that they should be up at the 105, let us know. We'll probably disagree, but we love to hear the comments from y'all. It's a great season. There's going to be takes here and there that just don't make any sense. People are going to fall in love with guys like I fall in love with Zach Charbonnet and take him at ridiculous values. It's my favorite time probably of the Dynasty season. Whenever we think we know everything and we truly know nothing.
Absolutely nothing. This time last year, we thought Malik Willis was the 101. So, I mean, we did not. Sorry, NFL mock draft realms thought he was going to be the 101. So let me just clarify that real quick. Yeah, we believe them, and that's what you have to do. You have to. So, but yeah, like really, really appreciate Dynasty Barry, Barry 83 on the board here from Destination Devi for putting this together, and a big shout out to Destination Devi and the Heisman community again. Patreon.com/allgas. Join us in there. You can join a ton of mocks with Barry, be part of the community, share your takes and things like that as well. Love to have you in there. Any last things before we cut out?
No, I think the only last thing I got is we're probably going to be we need to start up an actual startup mock draft with rookies in there. That is what we need to do next, man. Yep. So I think we might have an idea for our next show episode next week. And I know we're probably going to split this one out. So with that, wrap us on out of here, man.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you joining us here. Please like and subscribe. And thank you for joining us here in the Fantasy Draft Room.